I'm Simon Holmes. I'm a judge at the UK Competition Appeal Tribunal, but I'm here more as an academic who's been writing and speaking on competition policy and sustainability, and in particular how competition policy should not stand in the way of vital action by business to fight climate change. Competition policy can indeed be consistent with social policy. European competition law contains elements which allow it to take into account things beyond price, such as social policy and sustainability. Yes, competition policy can take into account of, or at least be consistent with social policy. It is very broadly written, and when interpreted properly, can take into account elements other than something such as price. For example, it can take into account sustainability and be consistent, coherent with other EU policies, such as the European Green Deal.
I am Marisa Tierno, or Maria Luisa Tierno Centella, if you want the long name. I am Director General for Competition at the Spanish Competition Authority, CNMC. Well, I think it can and it should. There are several things. At the heart of it, the point is that consumers is everybody. I mean, people are consumers. And competition is about making prices lower for consumers and giving more choice for consumers. So let's say that it improves the welfare of consumers, by definition, competition enforcement, and also the possibilities of having more innovation, more choice, and a better capacity for your money. You get more for your money because competition exists. And then I think that there is another issue that is a bit more tricky, which is the question of should we take into account considerations of social kind in our prioritization of cases, for instance. I think we can and we should. I mean, if it is clear that there is a big impact of a case that is a competition infringement, I think that the social impact is one of the considerations, one of them, but an important one to take into account when you decide to take up this case or to take up the other case. Well, I think it should be, because we are working for the consumer's welfare if you take a broad sense of competition into account, and because we are all consumers. So competition drives prices down, which is money in the pocket of the consumer. It fosters choice, it fosters innovation, it fosters quality of the products that you get, and that is all in favor of consumers, which are people. And then there is the other issue, which is if you have competition enforcement taken into account or not, social priorities, or more than social priorities, social impact of anti-competitive actions. And I think it is absolutely possible to make it a consideration when you are deciding to take up a case or not to take up a case.
I'm Shannon Little. I work in DG Competition in the communication unit, and I'm here because I supervise the preparation of the Eurobarometer surveys for DG Competition. Competition policy does have a social element in it, in the sense that it encourages companies to compete with each other and to be as efficient as possible, and to give the best offer to consumers in terms of prices, of quality, and of variety. So in a way, competition policy benefits people on a tight budget and with a lower income even more, because it reduces the prices of the goods they have to purchase. And this is also reflected in the Eurobarometer survey that we have commissioned and that we just published on how citizens and SMEs think about competition policy. And in general, in the EU, they agree that competition policy helps them in their daily lives. We commissioned a survey to understand how citizens and SMEs think about competition policy in the EU. And when we saw that there is a strong support for competition policy, as it helps bring prices down, improve innovation and the quality of the goods offered on the market. So I would say that this supports our view that competition policy helps people on a lower budget and people who have to really manage their expenses, because it lowers the cost of the goods they have to purchase every day. So in that sense, competition policy has a social element.
My name is Agustín Reina. I work for BEUC, the European Consumers Organization. In Europe, competition policy is social policy, and this is because we are based on a social market economy. Therefore, we believe that competition policy has the necessary tools to be able to tackle all the emerging problems that we're seeing in our society, from digitalization to the climate crisis. In Europe, competition policy is social policy because we are based on a social market economy. And it also means that competition law provides for the necessary tools and flexibilities in order to be able to address the emerging challenges that our societies are facing, from digitalization to the climate crisis. In Europe, competition policy is social policy, and this is because we are based on a social market economy. This also means that competition law provides for the instruments and the flexibilities to be able to address the challenges that our society are facing, from digitalization to the climate crisis.
My name is Jean Tirole, and I'm from the Toulouse School of Economics. I'm here to participate in this conference, making market work for people. Well, it's part of an overall policy, and what's the issue right now is that the governments actually don't do their job with respect to climate change or inequality, education, and so on. And the question is whether independent agencies like DG Comp or ECB should be substituting for governments. And in theory, maybe, but that creates a lot of issues, because we don't know with the cook now. Everybody is going to be in charge of climate change, but also their mission so far, like DG Comp or the ECB, has been very focused, and that's been part of the strengths of those agencies. If you give them a much broader mission, that's going to reduce their efficacy because they will be embracing multiple missions.